How's it going, YouTube? Jimmie here again. So last time we left off, other than the fact that Maya was messing up, we left off working on the interior, and I didn't get as far as I wanted to because, well, Maya problems. Yay. So today we're going to go and continue on working on this truck and trying to get it done. So, the first thing that's obviously noticeable is it doesn't have a firewall. Like, legitimately, it does not have a firewall. And layer 7 is referenced. There we go. So I'm just going to double click and select all these faces on the front. And by doing so, I can actually move these forward. I'm going to extrude them one more time. I'm going to scale them flat. Actually, instead of scaling them flat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the edges, like so. I'm going to scale the edges flat. I'm going to move the edges up. And then I'm going to click on these bottom edges, and I'm going to do the same thing. So now we're left with this shape. This odd shape. I'm going to move that forward just a little bit. I'm actually going to rotate it up. So then what we want to do is extrude up. We're going to extrude up to right about here. So when we turn on layer 6, we'll see that that actually this actually needs to go up just a little bit more. And I'm going to pull it forward, probably right about there. So it's not protruding out anywhere, and it comes out just like we'd expect to see it. There we go. Now, I know layer 6 is just a referenced layer, but we can still use it all the same, so that's not going to be a problem. Let's go and press 3 real quick and see what we have. Yeah, it looks a little wanky, but, it'll work, because all that stuff is really going to be hidden, so not really too terribly concerned about, like, kick panels and things like that, which that will actually be part of the interior door, so anyone who's playing the game won't even notice. Kind of nice, really. Let me go ahead and save it real quick, just to be on the safe side. So now we need a steering wheel. To do that, now we have these reference images that we can use, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to type in 93 Chevy S10 steering wheel. So, under images, let's see if we can find a good reference. Here we go. Now, I know before I said usually high-res images are what you want. This is going to be one of those times that it doesn't really matter. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because of the fact that, well, it's just a steering wheel. There's nothing real special about it. It doesn't matter which view you do this in. You can do this in the front view, the top view. It makes no difference at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into View. We're going to go into Image Plane, Import Image. And let's just scroll to our tutorial folder. You gotta be kidding. Oh, that's why I can save it as S. So anyways, we have this lovely image right here that is way oversized. No biggie. So to create a steering wheel, normally what I'll do is I could click on the torus right here, but I really prefer using a polygonal pipe. And the reason why, because, well, it's less polygons. So I'm just going to click once and put that there. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. So now is what I want to do is I actually want to scale it in. Let's see, probably something kind of like that. It doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be close. That's really the key. And if you want, you can actually, scale this out a little bit more and make it match. That's completely up to you. Really, we're just trying to get it where it's close. So I'm going to say 125, and that's going to be the shape of our steering wheel. So now is what we need to do is we need to go into Face. We're going to select all these faces like this. So now we have that. The next thing we need to do is we need to extrude. So we'll extrude all these faces on the Z-axis. Now, if you're worried about the thickness of it, that's not a problem. There are several ways you can handle that. Me, I kind of like to live on the edge of dangerous and having y'all wonder if I even know what I'm doing. So that's the way I'm going to roll. So what we'll do is we'll take these like so. And, actually, instead of doing it that way, we're supposed to be living dangerously. So I'm going to keep these selected though. I don't know why I deselect those. I'm just going to kind of make them match. What I'll have to do is just move this something kind of like that. Now for these, you can actually move these back a little bit. You know, you can do whatever you want with them. It doesn't really matter. The part that does matter, however, is we need this to be thinner. So I'm just going to kind of like select those like that. Then I'm going to go into face. I'm going to delete half of it. I'm sure y'all saw that coming a mile away. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to move this one right about here. And just like any of my other tutorials, this carries the same principle that you'd expect. As long as you can keep this smooth and keep these lines continuous, then it's going to look great. Or at least hopefully it will. So now we'll go into face. We'll just select these. And you can extrude these faces. That's not a problem. You're more than welcome to do so. That's actually what I'm going to do. I'm just going to extrude them right about here. I'm going to select these, deselect those, and I'm selecting them like that, so that's why I have the back part of these two faces selected. I'm just going to hit delete. So what I'll do then is I'll click on this edge, and I'm going to bridge those across. I'm going to click on face, and then I'm going to delete that side. I'm then going to go into object mode, because now my pivot's right here. I'm just going to hold down Control-Shift-D, and then is what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to take these vertices, or actually something you can do is you can just delete these faces like so, because when we combine these two, oi, that was like a sneeze that came out of nowhere. Like, I was legitimately not even expecting that. That just like, achoo, here I am. Okay, so anyways, you can simply select those edges, and you can go ahead and do a bridge, and it'll match up just fine. And for those of you that were wearing headphones, I apologize. I really do. So anyways, all I did was click on these edges. I just bridged them across. And then after that, I'll go ahead and delete those. Those edges are bridged across. I'm going to press 3. Now, this isn't quite what I am looking for. Oh my god, it's close, and it looks neat, but these actually have slightly sharper edges than that, and that's what I'm going to try and stick with. I think it's something kind of like that. There we go. And let me go ahead and add some over here to the outside. And something kind of like this. Well, it should be fine. There we go. So now when we look at a smooth version of it, I don't know where the wheel's at. There it is. That's what we get. And that's pretty much what we're looking for. Let's go back in here and, yeah, see, even these are flat, so actually what I just messed up on really shouldn't have done that. Is what I should have done. Let me press 1 real quick. I need to add a couple more edge loops. I say a couple more. It's actually going to be 4 more. I'll add 4 more right there. Yeah, that will work. Alright, so the only downside about doing this is you can see how smooth this circle is supposed to be, but by doing that, actually, let me take a look at this right here. Yeah, so see right here we have these. And what we'll need to do is we'll actually need to delete these edges over here. So I'm going to go into edge. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I need to scale this down because this is just ridiculous. No steering wheel is that big. There we go. Now I can go ahead and delete that image plane. So now we have a reference steering wheel. That, well, I say a reference. It's actually the steering wheel that we're going to use, but no, I don't want face. I want edge. So I'm going to select these edges that are on the inside. In fact, something I can do, let me just add a quick edge loop in here. Yep, you already know what I'm doing. Go into face, and I'm just going to delete all these faces like that. And the reason why I don't want to delete these is because I'm actually going to be using those later on. So I'm going to go into edge, and I'm just going to select the edges like that. Do the same thing here. We're going to move down. We're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to do the same thing here. So let's make sure we have all these edges selected, and it looks like we do. We'll go ahead and just delete those. And now you're probably wondering, but Jimmie, what do we do now? Well, that's a good question. What do we do now? Now we go to our cut tool. Let me turn off X-ray mode. We just end the edges like this. So now if you remember before, there we go. If you remember before, we had like some flatness on the surface. Well, now by doing that, we no longer have that. It's nice and smooth all the way around like you'd expect a steering wheel to look. So you go ahead and just duplicate that across. I'm going to press 1. I'm going to go into face. I'm going to delete these faces. Combine, 1, edge. And then we're just going to bridge these across. And we will delete these. There we go. There's our steering wheel. Beautimous. I'm actually going to scale this in a little bit more. Now, on these steering wheels, the wheel itself comes out in the center part, I guess you could say concaves in a little bit. Normally I would add some edge loops like right about here or so to give it the shape I'm looking for. And actually I think we're just going to have to do that. So I'm just going to add a few of these edge loops in like this. I'm not really going to take the time to manipulate them into place. I'm just going to throw them in there. I'm just going to pull this in like that. Let me press 3 on the keyboard, see what we have. So, yeah, I think that'll look good. Alright, so next thing we need to do is line this up with the dashboard. I think it's going to go right about there. And then we're just going to scale it straight down. Tilt it back just a little bit. And there's our steering wheel. That easy. Next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and work on the steering column. And these steering columns are very easy. And that's actually one of the things I like about this truck is how simple they are to make. So we'll just put a poly cylinder right about there. We're actually going to rotate it. Let's see. It's going to be right here. Just going to click on 90. 90. 90, 90, 90. Okay, sorry. We're just going to scale this down. Probably something kind of like that. We go in the side view, and we're just going to move this forward. And we will rotate it. And we're just going to click on vertex. You can click on vertex, face, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to move it right down here to the firewall. And I'm going to rotate it where it lines up with the firewall. There's our steering column. Beautiful, ain't it? Just take a second to, appreciate the beauty of the steering column. So if you don't like how it protrudes through, there's a few things you can do because I don't know if, let's see, so yeah, this actually has a hump right here. Obviously, in Maya, we don't have a hump right here. So to do that is what we will do. Press 1 on the keyboard. Okay, this is actually going to be more difficult than I thought. No worries. We will simply create an edge loop right here. And we'll create an edge loop right here. Now this edge loop, it's not quite where I wanted it. I actually want it closer to here. And this one will just move over like that. Now if you want, you can scale them flat so it's easier to work with. That's optional. That's what I'm going to do, just so it is easier to work with. And we don't have to really worry about that because nothing on this dashboard like bends or anything, Not, at least not in that axis. So we should be good right there. So what we want to do is we'll go into edge, and we're just going to select these edges right here. Make sure we don't have anything else selected. And before we do that, let's go ahead and add one more edge loop, one right here, one right here. And then we will go into edge and select these, make sure we don't have anything else selected, and we're just going to pull these up like so. So with any luck, when we press 3, we'll have this shape. Now obviously this isn't quite what we're looking for, but it is getting closer. All I'm going to do is press R on the keyboard. I'm going to scale these in like so. There we go. So next thing we need to do, let's go ahead and save this. Let's just admire its beauty one more time. I know in the image they're bigger than that, but you know, for just a quick tutorial, this is all I'm going to show. I think you get the idea on how to do that. How big are these things? No, that's probably about the right size actually. So, okay, I can live with it. Can you live with it, YouTube? I think I can live with it. So the next thing we want to do is I'm actually going to do the cut face right here. I need to turn on X-ray. Basically, is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start Oh, that's interesting. Maya problems. There we go. Just getting that one right there. Alright, let's turn off wireframe, or not wireframe, but X-ray. So what I'm doing right here is I'm actually trying to get it where this is nice and flat and flush. So kind of like that. Doesn't have to be perfectly flat. I just want it kind of close. Alright, let's save it. So then the next thing we want to do is we want to add a gear shifter. To make this an automatic, basically is what we'll do. And actually, before I forget, we'll just use the steering column for this one. We'll go down here, and under polycylinder 3, we need to change the subdivision axes to 10. It won't change to 10 because we actually edited the vertices. Completely forgot about that. So, no big deal. Is what we're going to do is we're just going to create another one right here. Wrong button. We're going to rotate it in the Z. Scale it down. This one we're going to go ahead and change the name real quick. Or not the name, but the subdivision axis. We're just going to change it to 8. You can actually make it a small 6. That part doesn't really matter. Actually, I think we're going to, because 8 might be a little excessive. 4 would be a little too small. So this comes out and protrudes out right about here. So, make it on this side, actually. So anyone who has an automatic, they know it creates like this weird shape. And we're going to create that shape. We're actually going to have this where it comes forward a little bit. It extrudes out. We'll have it extrude out like this. Then we'll have it come out. Let's flatten it up. There we go. Something kind of like that. Then for these, I'm going to select all of these. I'm actually going to scale these out kind of like this. And I actually want to grab these vertices right here. I want to pull these out just a little bit. Something kind of like that. And then I'm going to press Insert, which is the INS key. Move this right about here. And we're just going to rotate it up like that. So now it's in park. So that's all there is to doing that. If you want a standard, we'll be doing that here in this tutorial as well. For now, I'm just trying to add all these little extra features. Actually, I think that's going to work out just great. Now you can always add extra edge loops in there and make it look better. So let's go ahead and actually, before I go too far with this, is what I want to do. I'm actually double clicking on every one of these lines to make sure there's no extra edges or anything like that. So the other reason why I'm double clicking, because I'm also getting these caps in here. So I'm just going to hit delete. Makes it a 10-sided poly object. If you want, you can always go into face and select just these back faces and hit delete. I'm going to be doing that on this one because we don't need them, and that will actually lower the poly count. Actually, I kind of want to make sure that we don't exceed. So I'm going to press 1 on the keyboard. I'm going to go ahead and smooth these objects out. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and save it. So the next thing we will do is let's go ahead and create the shifter, the floor shifter. Now I know you're not going to have both of these in the same scene, but you can always go in and you can always change that up. I'm just going to move this up real quick right about here. I'm going to click on this one. I'm just going to hit delete. And I don't see any more, so that should be good. In fact, I need to do the same thing with this. Whoa. I'm going to select that one. I'm going to delete. And I'm going to select these three. I'm going to do the same thing. Let's see, that should be fine. We go in here. There we go. So now we got that. We're also going to do that a little bit on the steering wheel as well, because there are some extra faces that we just do not need. I probably won't select these right there, but I will select these three. And then I'll select, let's see, I'll just select this one right here. I'm going to select this one, this one, this one, then the one up here. And I'm just going to hit, yes, I don't want to delete this one because that actually has an edge on it, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete those real quick. And that should give us the detail that we're looking for and still lower the polygonal resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the dashboard. Let's see, I don't want to do that one. I just want to do this one and this one. That one can go away because that one has absolutely no business being there. Really? So I don't want to do this one. Also, I kind of want to do this one. Okay, yeah, that one should be fine. Let me go ahead and hit, oh wait, not yet. Let me do these down here. Then on the back side, that one's already selected. I'm going to do that one. Okay, it should be good. Just go ahead and hit delete. Let's see, the rest of these I'm not too terribly concerned about. Probably go ahead and do this one real quick. Oops, wrong button. Let's see, and these will keep. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we'll go ahead and just get rid of that one, screw it. There we go. So there are some extra ones like right here. I don't think we really need those. Delete those. So what we'll do is we'll take the cut face tool. I'm going to click right here, then back up here. There we go. Then right here, cut here, Make sure I'm selecting the right vertex. It sucked I didn't. Okay, let's go and save it real quick. Alright, that was fun. So, next. Alright, so now we're going to create the floor shifter. For the floor shifter, see if I can see one in here that has a floor shifter. Okay, so that one will work. It's actually going to be slightly in front of the seat. Now I know they don't have this flat handle, that looks like a slap shift, but basically is what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting where the shifter, like right here on the floorboard, it will kind of like come up a little bit and then curve back. So we're still going to be using like our seat for reference. That's not a problem. And then we'll go ahead and test it and check it, and make sure that everything is where it needs to be. So right here in this view, I'm just going to create a cube. Kind of like that. Probably about that large. I'm just going to go, well, first before I do that, I actually want to delete that bottom face because we're not going to need it. So then I'm just going to scale this down. I'm going to move it down. Something probably about like that. Let me make sure it's not protruding down, and it is. Move it up just a little bit. There we go. So now is what we need to do is go into the extrude option. We're going to go in like this. We're going to go up. We're going to extrude up again. Then we're going to hit extrude. Did I just do that twice? Okay, there we go. We'll extrude this in right, probably something kind of like that. We'll hit G, extrude it in one more time, and then we're going to extrude down, and then we're going to extrude down for the rest of the way. So now we have this shape. It's a lovely bottle shape, no big deal. Basically all I'm going to do now is I'm going to start creating some edge loops. Just like this. So now we have this shape. If you want this to be more defined, you can always do that. So that's how you do that. Give it that more squared shape like you'd come to expect a truck to actually have. For the boot, there are several ways you can do that. Generally is what I'll do is I'll just create something like a sphere. I'm just going to use a sphere for example. You can also use a thing right here. I'm trying to think what it's called. Yeah, I'm getting very, very sleep deprived. You can use a cone. You can use any of these shapes. It's just I'm going to use a sphere because I think it'd be a little bit easier. Just a little bit. Maybe not a lot easier, but I think it'll be a little bit easier. So I'm just going to scale it right about there. So this one is, this object right here is, let's see, X needs to be a 0. And then that should be, for Y, well, Y doesn't matter, but Z does. So this should be -356. You bastard. -0.356. Translate X 0. Then for Y, we're just going to move it down right about here. So the next thing we want to do is we need to change the faces it has, which should be, we're going to go with an even number, 8 by 8. Then we're going to go into face. We honestly do not need these bottom faces right here. Completely unnecessary. Then all we're going to do is take these faces. I'm going to move these up where this is flat. And then I'm going to take these. I'm going to move these down where they are flat. And then I'm going to take these and move them out where these are flat. And then I'm going to take these. I'm going to do the same thing, move these out until they are flat. So now we're left with this shape right here. Now, normally the boot shapes don't have this. So what I'll do is I'll select these 4 vertices first and just scale them in. I'll do the next set, scale them in, do the next set, and scale them in, like so. So the next thing we want to do is actually we want to give this some shape to it now, like the boot shape. There's a few ways you can do this. One of my more preferred methods, basically I'll just take, you can either, one of the easier ways if you're like really concerned about like the maps and everything, or not the maps, but the resolution, you can always just give it this more of a square shape like this, where it just slowly curves up, and just throw a texture map on it. That would probably actually be the less, I guess you'd say, costly way to do it. Something kind of like this. If you want, you could always take a cube and just start like giving it the ridges that it would have. But for resolution wise, I think this is the route that we're going to go. So anyways, let me go and create the shifter. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to scale this in. How big is this thing? There we go. That's what she said. Okay, so I'm just going to scale this in right about here. We're going to go into this view. Face. Delete. I don't know why I just did that. I'm just selecting every other one. I'm just going to delete them. I should have done that first, but, you know, white boy problems. You wouldn't understand. So I'm going to move this one quite a ways down. So scale this probably right about there, I'm thinking. I already know that's not going to protrude through, so we should be fine. So the next thing we need to do, or actually I want to go into face for this, is I'm going to move this down. I'm going to have this scaled up over kind of like that. Then I'm going to have this come on out, about like that. Then we just have to create a knob for it. So I'm just going to create a sphere, shrink the crap out of it. For the subdivision axes, 10. Going to try and match this up with these faces up here. So I'm going to go into vertex. I'm actually going to select below the half point of this. And this way is what I can do is I can scale this in, pull them back, and I can go in here, scale these out, I can pull them down, and then I'm going to do this one more time. Oops. Move this down, scale it up. Like that. You just grab these vertices, I'm just going to move them up. I'm thinking some kind of like this, or some kind of like that, whatever. It doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be close. I think that's the bigger thing. There we go. Now if you want, I'm like, this is actually a pretty big shifter. I mean, I don't know if you'd ever actually get your hand around that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to scale these down. I'm going to scale them down just a little bit more. So the next thing we'll do is we'll take this, we'll just move it straight on through. Then we'll take these, move them right on through here. There we go. And you can also make it where this curves straight up. It doesn't have to curve forward like that. I'm just doing it that way because, you know, why not? So I'm going to go ahead and save it. Alright. So then the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and create the door panel. And I think that'll about do it for this tutorial. So I'm going to do... Let's see. Well, I was thinking about doing that. I was actually thinking about taking the door, selecting all the faces except for these faces on the inside, and creating the door panel off of that. That'd definitely be a lot easier than having to try and line them up. In fact, I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to start clicking on these faces. I'm going to double click across. Just like that. And I'm going to hold down Shift and select the rest. I'm going to press Delete. So now we got this lovely shape. It is a beautiful shape. I'm just going to select all of these edges. I'm going to make them flat, and then I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to hold down Control and deselect those. So then the next thing I want to do is go ahead and select this one. Actually, we don't need this one. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. But I'm going to select this one. I'm going to scale it flat and move it right about here. And this one I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to scale it flat. I'm going to move it right about here. And then from here is what we can do. Just move this out just a little bit. There we go. So now let's go ahead and click on this object. We'll show the other layer, which is layer 6. We're going to hold down Shift and select that. This will select the other body. So now we're left with this. If you look on in here, now we've got a door panel. So, yay. So for the windows, I need to go ahead and assign these to the glass layer and make sure they're still assigned. This way I can work around them and everything and not have to be just bombarded. We should still have the bench seat, and we do. As you can see, the shifter, it protrudes through a little bit, but for the most part I think it'll be fine. You'll never actually notice that. So, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go ahead and save it. So the next thing what we'll do is we'll take this door panel and just going to hold down Control-Shift-D, duplicate it across. Of course that's not going to work because we have to create a group out of it. Now we can do that. There we go. And see, it lines up already so neatly. Well, I say that, then I see this gap right here, this protruding gap. So I'm just going to move that in just a little bit. Something kind of like that. This one looks like it does the same thing. There we go. Alright, let me go ahead and save it. And there's the interior done. If you want to add petals, you can. It's just a matter of adding a few cubes. And I think in the next video we're actually going to start working on the wheels and everything, adding those in. And then we'll start working on trying to finish up the truck. So until then, I'm going to go ahead and save it, and I'll see you there.